On Saturday, the flower shop Forget-Me-Not came to life, as always. Customers crowded in, and the sellers diligently worked their magic, creating the most beautiful bouquets from fresh flowers for weddings and special events. Lillian, young and in love, joyfully set aside the most exquisite hydrangeas and pink peonies, carefully choosing wrapping paper that would accentuate their beauty. Involuntarily smiling, she confided to her colleague, "By the way, we'll soon be making bouquets for my wedding." James finally told his parents everything, and they agreed. "Yesterday, we even filed an application with the registry office." Kathleen sincerely congratulated her friend, saying, "Congratulations, may you be happy. Now you'll be joining such a wealthy family, like cheese and butter. The Brooks Company is big and solid, their furniture sells like hotcakes." Lillian nodded, saying, "That's true, I didn't even believe everything would go so smoothly. I was afraid that James's mother would be against me, but fortunately, she agreed. Soon we'll be husband and wife. I'm so happy, I love James so much." Once again immersed in her work, she began to recall her life, her childhood, and her encounter with James. If someone had told her a year ago that she would marry a wealthy heir, she wouldn't have believed it. Lillian grew up in a small village where her mother, a Russian language teacher, taught classes at the local school. Her father was a disabled man, confined to a wheelchair since an accident that happened long before her birth. Her father had always been the way she remembered him, and she viewed him with love and care. With her mother's income and her father's disability pension, the family struggled to make ends meet, let alone afford expensive medications and regular hospital visits. They lived modestly, economizing on everything they could. Lillian was a cherished daughter, and her parents gave her all their love and attention. Her mother dedicated a lot of time to Lillian's education, inspiring her to read classical literature, teaching her good manners and proper speech, refining her handwriting and grammar skills. So, despite limited opportunities, Lillian grew up as a cultured, educated, and well-mannered young woman. On top of everything else, she was exceptionally beautiful. Lillian was a woman of short stature, but her figure was elegant, and her sweet cheeks featured dimples. Her long, chestnut hair, reaching almost down to her waist, added a special charm to her appearance. Even during her school years, many boys, childishly, showed interest in her, dreaming of being close to Lillian. However, she remained committed to her studies and family responsibilities, and her heart remained untouched as she diligently pursued her education and helped her parents with household chores. She found boys likable, but she couldn't find room in her heart for romantic feelings. Upon graduating from high school with honors, Lillian aspired to continue her education at the university. She understood that her family couldn't afford such expenses. Her mother worked hard to support the family and take care of her disabled father. At that moment, she decided to go to the capital, where she planned to work for a year to save money and eventually fulfill her long-standing dream of attending university. In her hometown, there were limited prospects for realizing her ambitions. Her parents reluctantly let their daughter go, and her mother couldn't hold back her tears, saying, "Lillian, my dear, you're our sunshine. How are you going to be in a foreign capital without acquaintances or family? I can't even imagine. Maybe it's better to stay here. We'll always support and help you." However, her father was on her side and supported her decision, saying, "You should go, my brave girl. You're smart, and there's no future for you here. Try your luck in the capital. Maybe it'll work out for you. You'll find a job, for sure, and you'll do it. Just be cautious with boys, they can be tricky. And if you fall in love, bring your fiancé home. It's serious. Good luck, my little swallow." He hugged his daughter tightly at their parting, and throughout the train journey, Lillian's mixed emotions were relentless. Fear and excitement overwhelmed Lillian as she approached the capital. How would life unfold in this vast metropolis? Would she be able to adapt in this unfamiliar environment? However, luck smiled upon her when she found a room with a reputable landlady, reasonable rent, and comfortable conditions. Her neighbors turned out to be pleasant and quiet family people, and in this unfamiliar place, serenity and cleanliness prevailed. However, her job search didn't go as smoothly as Lillian had hoped. She had dreamed of being hired as a manager or, at the very least, a secretary in some company. After all, she had graduated with honors and knew she possessed excellent organizational skills. However, reality proved to be much harsher. almost everywhere. They demanded a higher education degree. But her money reserves quickly ran out. Then, one day, Lillian noticed a job advertisement on the door of a local flower shop. Sales associate florist wanted. With her lifelong love for flowers, this place seemed perfect to her. She knew how to care for plants properly and enjoyed looking after them. She had read a lot of literature on the subject and immediately decided to visit the provided address to learn more. At first, the stern owner, observing the impressionable young woman, merely snorted and said, "Dear, this is where professionals work, not random passers-by. Our store serves well-known and respected clients, and you need to know how to please them. Understand their desires. It's not just about tying 3 roses with a ribbon." Lillian felt hurt, but she pleaded, "Please, give me a chance to try. Give me some task. If I can't handle it, I'll leave on my own. Can't you at least let me try?" Realizing that her home garden was filled with flowers, she couldn't contain her excitement. The homeowner, a woman with a determined character and genuine kindness, began to take an interest in her. She paused for a moment, then said, "All right, let's do it this way. You can handle the next order. It's for a high-status woman, a widow who's lonely, an old school friend, who's secretly in love with her, wants to surprise her with a bouquet. I'm already working on the preparations. I think for a businesswoman like her, ordinary red roses or mono bouquets won't suffice. I would suggest a mixed bouquet of chrysanthemums and orange roses, with delicate cotton branches added in between. I believe this combination will evoke nostalgia for those carefree youthful years and fill her days with a lyrical mood. This bouquet will not only be tender and visually pleasing but also expressive. It's not a complete confession of love, more of a hint. How do you feel about this option?" The landlady, unexpectedly to herself, slightly opened her mouth and nodded with great respect, pointing her index finger in Lily's direction. "Listen, you are truly outstanding. You understood my thoughts perfectly and suggested a beautiful bouquet. I've decided to hire you. However, remember that I expect responsibility and diligent work from you. You won't be complaining about the money," she said. So, Lily became an employee at the flower shop, and this occupation brought her incredible joy. She quickly found common ground with her colleague, Kathleen, and every workday began with enthusiasm and a desire to do everything at the highest level. With each paycheck, Lily set aside a portion to bring her dream of going to university closer, and sent another part to her father to help with his treatment. She couldn't act any other way because her parents had always been important to her. They were happy for their daughter and proud of her, knowing that even in the tough conditions of the big city, she never forgot about them. And soon, another unexpected event occurred that turned the girl's life upside down. This happened on a cold evening, when the first frost and strong wind made the streets particularly unwelcoming. Lily was already close to her home when she suddenly discovered a man lying in a puddle. He wasn't moving and showed no signs of life, and the girl was overcome with genuine fear. Kneeling beside him, she began to shake him gently, saying, "Hey, sir, what's wrong with you? What happened? I'm going to call an ambulance right now. How could someone leave you like this?" The stranger opened his eyes, weakly stirred, and, groaning, slowly tried to get up while holding his head. He muttered, "Thank you, no need to call an ambulance. I can manage on my own. I was attacked from behind, hit on the head, and they stole my briefcase, which had my wallet, passport, and work documents. Oh, my head is spinning, and it hurts." Lily stood there, feeling lost, knowing she had to help this young man, who turned out to be her age, dressed expensively, and clearly not homeless. It didn't even cross her mind to leave him in distress and walk away. Instead, she quietly said, "My name is Lily. I live nearby, just across the street in that building. You know what? Let's go to my place. It's not summer out here, and you'll freeze. You can warm up, I'll treat your wound, make some tea, you can spend the night somewhere, sit in the warmth, and get some rest on your way." The young man, introducing himself as James Brooks, a manager in her father's company and a student at the same university, accepted the offer. "Let's use first names, Lily, we're peers after all. Thank you for not passing by. Such kindness is rare nowadays. I'm genuinely grateful." Lily first brought a bathrobe and provided him with the opportunity to change. She tossed his clothes into the washing machine so they could dry on the radiator by morning. Then Lily made tea, quickly prepared some simple sandwiches, and began to tend to the young man's wound. His bravery was evident, despite the visible pain. He graciously accepted her hospitality, and his cheeks blushed slightly with gratitude. A few unruly strands of hair escaped from Lily's thick, long braid, and her huge gray eyes charmed the young man. Her gentle appearance and natural, untouched beauty that hadn't succumbed to artificial interventions didn't fit the current standards, where everything artificial was put on display. At the same time, the girl immediately felt a connection with this young man. The stranger turned out to be polite and modest. His gaze at Lily seemed as if it was delving into her soul. Despite the vast diversity of research tools available, for the first time using her phone, the young man called his parents. He didn't want to worry them and told them that everything was fine, explaining that he had a work-related delay and was staying overnight at a friend's place. Lily carefully prepared the couch for James, and she herself settled on a modest folding bed. The exhausted young man, now warmed up, instantly fell into a deep sleep. But the girl hardly closed her eyes. Her heart was beating faster, and her thoughts were racing in different directions. She attentively watched as James slept and couldn't understand why he occupied her thoughts so strongly. Tapping her foot on the floor, she couldn't explain to herself what was happening. Her inner monologue went like this: "What's happening to me? I simply helped someone. Tomorrow, James will leave, and that's it. We'll never meet again. But why has he stayed in my head so much? Why do I like him so much?" By morning, they sat down for breakfast, and James shared his story. He said, "Imagine, I was heading home yesterday, but on the way, I needed to stop by a friend's place and give him something important. I left my car in the parking lot and went through the courtyards to save time. Suddenly, someone called me from behind, asking for a light. I just turned around, and the next moment, everything went dark. Later, I realized they tried to rob me, and I had to run to the police and replace my documents. But don't worry, my dad has connections, and he'll quickly track down those scoundrels. And you, Lily, I want to say a huge thank you for saving my life and not letting me freeze. I don't even know how to put it. I really like you as a person, and overall, you're very beautiful. Maybe we can meet up this weekend. That's how their incredible story began, leading them both to something much greater than they could have imagined. As she walked to the door, Lily bid farewell, saying, "Go, James. Thank you. Take care, and it's better to see a doctor to get yourself checked." Those were the parting words at that moment, marking the beginning of their relationship. Their passion ignited quickly and intensely, and Lily forgot all her father's guidance, completely immersed in the whirlwind of feelings that had taken over her. James, her fiancé, took care of her so wonderfully that it not only impressed her but also those around them, including the media. He took her to concerts, cherished her like a flower, and even Lily herself was amazed at how quickly and passionately her feelings had flared up. Night after night, she soared to the heavens of ecstasy, engulfed in this vortex of love. According to James, his sincere declarations of love seemed like a promise of eternal happiness, to which nothing could stand in the way. However, suddenly everything changed. James's mother, Meg, upon learning about their relationship, erupted in anger. She strongly disliked her future daughter-in-law, whom she considered far below her high standards. Meg had long been eyeing a favorable match for her son in the form of the daughter of a well-known banker, Epifanov. Her open antipathy toward Lily was evident, and she made it clear with her demeanor that this young woman did not meet her standards. Even more hurtful for Lily was the fact that in such moments, James did not defend his fiancée from his mother's attacks. Instead, he tried to change the subject and smooth things over. This deeply offended the young woman, but she tolerated it because she was madly in love with her fiancé. Lily hoped that after their wedding, James's mother would see how caring she was and how much she loved her son, and her attitude towards her would become warmer. However, recently, Lily began experiencing strange symptoms. She felt extremely nauseous in the mornings, had no appetite, and constantly felt drowsy. She began to suspect that she might be pregnant, and it was unclear whether she should be happy about this news or not. After all, James never spoke about his mother, and it was uncertain how she would react to such an event. Lily was lost in her thoughts. What if James refuses to marry me? How will I explain this to my parents? And how can I look them in the eye if my father warned me to be cautious, and I didn't heed his advice? I can't delay this. James needs to know the whole truth. I can't wait for the moment when our shared dream becomes a reality. And so, Lily decided to organize an unforgettable surprise. A splendid dinner was prepared, candles cast a mysterious glow, and Lily eagerly awaited her beloved's arrival. James entered the room and couldn't hide his admiration. Wow, it's so romantic in here. Simply amazing. You've got something on your mind, haven't you? And you look more beautiful and mysterious than ever. Lily took a deep breath, feeling nervous, and began the conversation. Darling, I have a special surprise for you today. I think you'll like it. I'm pregnant, and soon we'll have a child. It was unexpected for me, but honestly, it's very pleasant. I hope you're happy too and ready to be a caring father. So, we should hurry with the wedding to announce this joyful news. How do you feel? James, seemingly in confusion, slowly sat down, turned on the room's bright lights, extinguished the candles, and poured himself a glass of wine. He downed it in one piercing sip, emptying the glass completely. Then, he finally said, "What about me? Your surprise was a success. I don't even know what to say. I'm just in shock. It's unbelievable. How did this happen? I thought I was being careful." Silence filled the room like an impending storm, and the tension reached its peak. Lily closely watched her fiancé, trying to decipher his reaction. She silently looked at him, hoping to read his feelings, surprise or disappointment. With a tremor in her voice, she asked, "Are you truly so disheartened? We love each other, and we had serious plans for marriage. This is just a bit earlier than we planned. Isn't this a joy for you? Maybe I'm doing something wrong or saying something wrong. Please tell me, how do you feel? Don't stay silent, please." James regained his composure a bit, shook his head, and replied reservedly, "Yes, you're right, Lily. I'm sorry for reacting this way. I just wasn't prepared for this. It's such a responsibility. I thought about my mom, how she will react. Maybe it will take her some time to get used to the idea. But, of course, we will be together, James. You have always been and will remain the only one for me. I also dream of a family, of our future. Do you understand?" Lily smiled and replied, "I understand, dear. But I've prepared your favorite shrimp salad, so let's sit down and celebrate this wonderful occasion." James nodded but then apologized. "I'm sorry, honey, but I can't eat right now. I have an urgent matter I need to attend to. I'll have to leave. I'll call and tell you how it went, I promise." With these words, he left the room, leaving Lily alone and bewildered. For Lily, this was a real shock. James, who didn't want a child, suddenly left so quickly and unexpectedly. She felt confused and puzzled by what was happening. But over the weekend, James suddenly returned, as if nothing had happened, with the same joy and tenderness as before. James passionately kissed his fiancée and excitedly announced, "I talked to my mom, and she agreed. The wedding is on, and everything will be fine. We have a whole month to prepare. There's so much to do, my head is spinning." Filled with joy and happiness, Lily couldn't hold back her tears and rushed to hug and kiss her fiancé. "So, you're the real deal, my best one. I'll be the most loyal and devoted wife to you." James responded to her kisses, and their passion grew even stronger. The couple reconciled, and together they filed their marriage application. Lily enthusiastically started preparing for the wedding. The newlyweds chose a venue, found the perfect wedding dress, rings, a photographer, and an MC for the banquet. All the wedding details came together to create a wonderful event that united them even further. After finishing her workday, Lily decided to share her joyous news with her parents and called her mother, "Mom, I have some important news. I'm getting married to a wonderful guy named James Brooks. His family is well known as successful businessmen. I love him so much. Mom, I'm so happy. Are you happy for me?" Her mother began asking questions about her relationship with James, and then her father took the phone and expressed his opinion. "Sweetie, everything is happening so quickly and unexpectedly. But why doesn't your fiancé come to make a formal proposal? It's the customary way. Tell him to come with you, so we could meet, spend some time in a family setting. It's not quite right that the wedding is so close, and we know nothing about the groom." Lillian smiled and replied, "Daddy, you are absolutely right, it's not quite right. I'll definitely discuss it with James, and we'll come to visit you soon." However, her fiancé didn't rush to come and introduce himself to his future in-laws. With each passing day, Lillian became more worried. James continued to be absent, and she began to doubt his sincerity. She felt like he was hiding something and delaying the wedding preparations. Today, on the day they were supposed to leave, Lillian started to contemplate, becoming more anxious. The thought crossed her mind that James had changed his mind, and uncertainty arose about whether they were rushing into marriage and whether they should have met his family. James's mother seemed to openly dislike her, and James himself showed no initiative in introducing her to his relatives. These thoughts troubled her, but she tried to push them away. Lillian wanted to believe that all these doubts were just nerves, and that everything would be fine. After all, a perspective of a happy and long life with her beloved and most desired man lay ahead of her. Weeks had passed like a single short day, and now the long-awaited and important day had arrived. Lillian was sitting at her home with her friend Kathleen, waiting for the moment when her fiancé, James, would finally arrive. She was dressed in an elegant wedding dress that shone with bright beauty. Her friend had done a light makeup and a beautiful hairstyle, adorning her hair with fresh flowers, giving the look a touch of delicacy and originality. Lillian's parents had called, saying they were heading directly to the registry office, as her father found it difficult to move around due to his wheelchair. The time was approaching the moment of the civil ceremony, scheduled for 1 o'clock, and it was already exactly 12 o'clock. But James was still not there. Lillian started to feel nervous and worried, looking out the window with anticipation. Kathleen was also in a state of tension and doubt. "Where is he? Tell me. We agreed that he would pick me up at 11. It's been an hour. What's going on? Maybe something happened." I'm starting to panic. Aware that something was amiss, her friend suggested, "Maybe you should try calling him. Let's find out what's happening. Don't torture yourself. There might be an explanation, like traffic or other circumstances." With trembling hands, Lillian tried to call James, but the phone rang for a long time, and no one answered. Lillian felt like she had been struck by lightning. On the 7th call, a voice answered, and it was James's mother, Meg. Lillian suddenly caught her breath and exclaimed, "Hello, Meg. Where's James? We have a wedding in 20 minutes, and he's not here. Something's happened, hasn't it?" Meg's response was so icy that her words froze in the air. "A wedding? What wedding, dear? What are you talking about? My son is marrying Tina right now. They've been dating and preparing for this for a long time. And you, Lillian, were just a fling, a mere distraction for him. So forget this number forever and don't call here again. Is that clear?" Then Meg hung up, leaving Lillian in complete confusion and disappointment. Lillian stood still, holding the trembling phone, tears streaming down her cheeks like an endless rain. Then, without hesitation, she called a taxi, saying, "Kathleen, I can't believe this. It's possible that my mother-in-law is saying all of this on purpose to keep me and James apart. He wouldn't do this. We discussed all the details yesterday, and everything was fine. I'm heading to the registry office right now. After all, we're supposed to have a wedding in an hour. I need to find out the truth. Will you be with me, my friend?" Lillian's voice broke with emotion, and she stared in shock as James and the unknown bride passed by her, not even acknowledging her presence. The newlyweds continued to smile and embrace, while Lillian felt invisible. Lillian was stunned, unable to control her emotions any longer. She shouted, "James, James, how did this happen? Where am I? Who is this woman? Our wedding was supposed to take place here and now, with me, not her. What's going on? This is a nightmare." The guests at the registry office turned to look at the commotion, and the situation became increasingly uncomfortable. Lillian's outburst drew the attention of everyone in the room, and the atmosphere grew tense. James glanced briefly in Lillian's direction, his expression a mix of guilt and unease, before he was led away by his new wife. The registrar tried to intervene and calm the situation, but Lillian was inconsolable. Kathleen stepped forward to support her friend, taking Lillian's hand and leading her out of the registry office, away from the wedding that had just taken place. The heartbreaking truth had become painfully clear, and the world that Lillian knew had come crashing down. Lillian whispered, surveying everyone around, "I understand it all. You're all involved in this. It's evident from your faces. You've all conspired. Caitlin attempted to comfort her friend and softly whispered, "Let's go, Lillian, it's not worth staying here. Regardless of what happened, you won't be able to prove your point right now. Don't lose your dignity. If James decided to marry someone else, it's his choice. Let's go back home and discuss what to do next." Lillian continued to sob, feeling like her world had crumbled, and all her hopes and dreams had shattered. Caitlin persuasively said, "I'm pregnant, Lillian, 13 weeks along. James knew about it. We rushed into the wedding because of this. Think about it, not just about yourself. We'll go back home and talk. You're not alone. I'm with you. Don't let him have power over you. It's his shame, not yours. Don't hate yourself, hate him." Caitlin gently ran her hand down her friend's back, trying to calm her and convince her that life would go on. Lillian whispered again, "I hate him. I hate myself. I think I'll do something to myself. But I won't disgrace myself in front of everyone. Who needs me now?" For the continuation of the story, see the following video.